I'm Autumn Brown.
And I'm Adrienne Marie Brown.
And this is How to Survive the End of the World,
our podcast about learning from apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity.
Okay. Witch School episode 25 was the one with Wambui. So graduation is 26.
Yeah.
So
Woo-hoo-hoo.
that's 26 episodes. Like, wow. And the season has basically gone... I don't remember when you officially launched it, but I feel like it's gone almost a full year. Like, this is a huge
it's a
accomplishment.
really big season.
Hold on. Let me see. When was the first episode? Welcome to Witch School. We did together. And that was April 28th. And then the first chapter of Witch School, was May 10th. Today, a year ago today, was when the first episode came out.
Oh my God. Wait, I've got chills. That's so creepy.
I can't believe this. That's incredible. And that was the episode with Omashade. Wow. Okay, so it's been an entire year.
Freaky Friday.
It's been a little over a year, really, that you've been producing this season. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to say, as we begin this conversation, one, huge accomplishment.
Thank
Two,
you.
Adrienne deserves a little bit of a break now. And so we are actually going to take a full summer off of the show.
Yes.
And not come back until the fall.
Yeah.
Because
off of new episodes. Let's say that.
Off of new episodes. That's right. Yeah. We're gonna be putting a lot in the feed for you all, as always. But Adrienne deserves a break because she worked really hard and did it the Adrienne way, which is like always. I just for whatever reason, the image that's coming to my mind is a social media post that you made years ago when you were wrapping a writing retreat, and the image you posted of yourself at the last day was you holding up the peace sign, except it meant 2 because you finished 2 books during the writing retreat. Do you remember this?
I do. That was the pleasure activism one. Yeah.
This is my sister. I always try to explain this to people. I'm like, literally there's no one on earth who like creates and produces at the level that Adrienne does. And just don't even try to understand it. You can't understand it.
I don't even understand it, but I am learning to work with others. And, it's been this season actually has been really wonderful for that, because I'm like, oh, there's a witchiness to this, to the way that I do things. Cause I'm like, it doesn't feel hard, and I can do a lot if I like it. If I like what I'm doing, I can do so much, and it just feels like it's pouring into me. And this season was that. This season was one conversation after another. It was school for me. I was the student.
It really was.
Yeah.
Well, and actually that is a great segue into my second question. So that's where we're going to go.
Great.
My second question is, and then we'll come back to the
first. Okay, I was like, did I miss the first? Okay,
no. We'll come back there. I'm curious to know what you learned about your own powers. Mm-hmm. And secondarily, what you learned about the wisdom traditions and lineages that you come from that really like inform what your powers are.
Good. That's great. That's a great question. I think one of the first things I learned was like, there's 0 powers that I have experienced or felt myself to have, or gifts or capacities. 0 of it am I alone in. Like there's not 1, not 2, but like multitudes of other people on earth who feel all the things I feel and can move energy the way I can move it. And we're drawn to it early and just like channel, right? I learned so much more about my channel nature through this. And that like actually for a lot of the witches that came on, that it was like, oh, from a very early age, I knew that this was a way that I am. It's not like something I do. And I think that was a really big learning that like, when you talk about, I think you were saying like, oh, there's this imposter syndrome or something. Cause for me, I was always like, well, this just comes to me. This can't be something, because it's just what occurred to me. Right.
Right.
And
right.
I didn't go to school and learn it. So this can't be a real thing. And I think so much of this season was like such affirmation of like, no, the thing that just comes to you, that is the realest thing. That is the thing that you are meant to do. That was what you're put on earth to do. That's what you will always be great at. That's what you can count on in the storm, right? And wow. I felt like, and I feel so much more relaxed now that like when it comes to me, I do it. How it comes to me is right. Like I'm just not questioning my own capacity. And I'm also not grandstanding it to myself. Like I'm like, it's not like, oh, if I do this, it's going to stop the war, right? Like I'm not, do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just sort of like, I am, witching is collective work. It's relational work. And even though it often feels like I'm sneaking off in the dark by myself to do a spell or something, it's like I'm never doing a spell out of relationship with nature. You're partnering with a tree, you're partnering with the dirt, you're partnering with the air, you're partnering with your own heartbeat. Sometimes the only thing you can draw on is like, what's in my body right now that I can call on as a blessing. Okay, I need water for this ritual. I am water. That's what I've got. We're going to sing into the bowl of water that is my body. And that's how I'm going to reverberate the spell into the universe. I have such a stronger sense of how the quality of my connections contributes to what I'm able to do. And that like, if I'm surrounded by people who are either succubus, you know, like have a succubus energy, they're drawing out of me, then it really weakens what I can offer to the collective. It really weakens what I can offer to the world. And when I'm around people who are like all pouring generously into each other and looking out for each other and honest about boundaries and all that kind of stuff, it's like it unleashes something bigger, right? So, yeah, you know, I can look at this past season and say, like the fact that like I was able to do this season and finish this book and do like more songwriting and poetry writing than I've ever done. And all these, you know, it's like, it was a really, really productive year during which I was grieving in ways that are new for me. And both at the personal level, and I feel like going through this experience with Palestine has been a real deep grief practice. And so being in this, being like, oh, grief is part of my work. Like in every way that you can say work, grief is a part of it for me. Like there's nothing that I'm bringing into the world. There's nothing that I'm bringing into the world that is not being refined, right? By my awareness of my mortality, my awareness of letting go, my awareness of brevity, my awareness of like, you know, it's that pour yourself completely in, release expectations. Like essence of that is grief work, right? Like it only works if you're like, oh yeah, I know I can let go. I know I can let this go. Wow. And everything I make is meant to be let go quickly, actually. That's why I like spells, because it's like I did it, and it's done, right? So I think that those are some of the big things I feel like I learned about myself. I also think I didn't understand that poetry and spells, I know this is going to sound maybe ridiculous to everyone, but I'm like, I don't think I really understood it to be the witchcraft that it is. Like I was like, I just write, and I'm also doing some magic, you know. But I'm like, yeah, the magic that comes to me is wordcraft, and it's like I've been part of this practice with Dora Midnight and a lot of other folks. That's been Prayers for Palestine, and it's been like, oh yeah, my channel is going to come through in these words, and I can really get out of the way of them, you know. Like I think that's incredible. The other magic of a lot of the witch is like, oh, all I have to do is accept the assignment and kind of get myself out of the way, whichever parts of myself are in the way. Sometimes it's the part of me that's like, that's too big, you can't possibly take that on, or that's too vulnerable, you can't let people see you crying or feeling something, or that's not perfect, those notes aren't exactly right, you can't release that into the world. You can't do that in front of people. Right? And your ego, you know, like the ego is both trying to shrink you all the time while making you try to be bigger, right? And it's like, ugh, I don't need any of that. I'm just going to be. I already have a size, right? I both already have a physical size
Yes,
and I already have like, there's a
yes.
size of who I'm supposed to be in the world, and denying
Right.
it doesn't have any impact on it. It's just like, it just is like doing its thing. So I'm like, I, in this lifetime, have a large size, right? And I don't think I've reached the full size, but I know that it's a large one.
Right.
It's large enough that I have to be responsible for more than I did when I was 18, right? And where I'm like, oh, the size of my life has grown such that I have to be like, oh, let me be aware of my impact. And that's also a good witchy lesson, right? It's just like, it works. Witchy stuff works. So you really want to be intentional,
Right?
Because you can mess some shit up.
Oh boy. You can fuck something up if you're not careful with your words.
So yeah, I'm glad we made that song. And did that cover the question?
Yes, I mean there was a question I asked about what you learned about wisdom.
Oh yes, okay, that was the part. Yeah, so I will say that a couple of things about that. One is I continue to be multi-lineaged person in every way, and that is also true here, because as I was listening to stuff, as I was listening to other people, and I think what I want the listeners to know, there were several of the interviews I did where I had either pre or post conversations with folks, because I was like, wait, I need a little bit more personally. I was like, tell me a little bit more. And I learned so much. People were like, oh, I see you in this tradition. Everyone could see me in their tradition in some way. Or like, they were like, we understand you and we can see you clearly from this tradition, from this tradition, from this tradition, which was helpful. I think that that's possible with so many things, that if we get out of the idea that the fundamental difference is true rather than it's just true now, right? Like, it's like, it's true now. So like now in this moment, it is true that like I was born in the US, and that means I was born into a place where I'm really being cut off intentionally from any tradition and being placed into a role where I consume without anything to reach back for. So like, oh, the only solution is whatever's being sold to me and not the wisdom I could reach back for from my ancestors, right? And it's like, oh no, the wisdom is all there, but I'm outside of the time of it. So I'm like, but if I reach back through my ancestral lineages, there's so many traditions that I can tap into that are legitimate places to tap into. And then there's so many traditions that are like, we want people tapping in. Like, this is a worldview. This is a way that we think works.
Ancestors are out here being like, we're
still here. A, of all, we're still here. And B, like, the stuff really, there's a lot of this that still works, still could work for you. And we don't care what you call it. So one of my gifts has always been being able to look at a variety of cultures or a variety of ways of being and find the patterns, right? That I'm like, oh, look, the majority of humans on earth have developed traditions that talk about the meek and the kind and the quiet and the holiness of being one of the people. Humility, right? And humility not in the performative, like, I'm still, but the real deal where you're like, I really am one of a body. I'm a cell in a body kind of humility, right? I have to do my job and no one else's. And like, and it may be a humble task. It's like whatever the task is in front of me. Sometimes it's rolling the recycling bins around, and sometimes it's getting on a stage and speaking, and sometimes it's doing something else. But yeah, so I'm like, there's a pattern around the world that honors that. There's a reason for that. There's a pattern around the world of people saying, go to nature. The trees have wisdom. The water has wisdom. These are our relations. And that has always made sense to me. And it's helping me be in the world very differently, because I feel like something flipped upside down in me where I'm like, I was raised to think that inside was safe and outside was danger. And something is shifting in me, where I'm like, oh no, like inside and the isolation of inside and what it means to be behind fences, walls, borders, locks, security system, everything else. That's actually kind of the most dangerous place for many of us. Going outside and connecting with neighbors, connecting with the creatures, connecting with the tree in the backyard, connecting with the lemon balm that's growing there, and like running my hands along the sage. And like, I'm like, oh, this instantly brings me back into like, things are good, things are okay, things are continuing where things are all in cycles, and almost all these traditions have a cyclical understanding, right? When you talk about time, it's like time, we do know that there's cycles to it. We don't really understand how all those cycles work. I keep running into my microphone.
That's all right.
Yeah. So, I love this piece. I've always felt a little, go ahead.
I was just going to say, reflect it back to you, what you just said. That's so beautiful. Just because I want to highlight it for our listeners, that isolation is danger and connection is safety.
Yes. Yes. Right. And we understanding that at a small level has really been helping my politic clarify too at a larger level. I feel like so much from the witch season, I'm like, oh, it's a witchy politic that I'm actually interested in. Right. Ooh. There's like something about the nature of like what can happen when we work together that cannot happen alone, and what can happen when we actually partner with the world around us rather than trying to conquer it and dominate it and be on our own. Like we're just not meant to do that.
Hello, beloveds. As you know, our show does not run on ads, and that's intentional. We are brought to you entirely by you, by your support. If you support us on Patreon already, thank you so much. If not, now is a great time to join. We've got t-shirts, we've got tote bags, we've got mugs, we have original art by Sister Adrienne. And also, Adrienne and I do these sporadic Ask Us Anything episodes, which are exclusively available to our patrons, where we're answering questions from patrons. So think about it and then just act on it. Become a patron today. In order to do that, in order to support the sustainability of our podcast, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/endoftheworldshow. Thank you. Okay, let's get back into it.
Well, so now I'm going to skip to question number 4.
Okay, great.
Because one of the questions I had for you is, how can magic and witchcraft assist and help us at this time of genocide, collapse, and rising up and rising through? There is so much there is so much heartbreak and violence in this moment, and there's also, it's so full of potential. It's so full of people awakening to their agency. Yes. And so how can we use magic? How can we use witchcraft to help us right now?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I loved as I was listening, that I think probably our listeners picked up on as well, is witchcraft is a very, across the board, what people were talking about was like, it's very survival oriented. It's very solution oriented. It's very much like there's an issue, let's attend to it. If it can be mended, let's mend it. If it's breaking, we have to let it break. We have to let people show their true nature. We have to work with what is, and we have to be visionary, right? And so all of that for me is really helpful. I think a lot of the strategies right now, especially because it feels like we're up against impossible powers, a lot of the strategies right now are actually in just getting those powers to show who they truly are, right? Like one of the biggest spells that is unfolding right now is power is unveiling who they really are and how they really work and what they really care about, right?
Right.
So if you look at the situation, it's like, like the kind of overreaction of, first of all, it's like the overreaction that you see in Israel, right? Where it's like, we're going to, this happened to us, and our response is going to be to obliterate everyone who lives in this entire region.
Right.
Right. It's like, what are you talking about? And that's if you if you started your whole political history on October 7th.
On October 7th, exactly.
If you started understanding the situation, then that would still be an insane overreaction, right? Mm-hmm. But we're seeing the same thing on our college campuses. Oh, well, we want to come here and say, please stop killing people. The overreaction of sitting in riot gear, clad cops with batons, with tasers, with rubber bullets, right. So the overreaction says more than we could ever say. I can't write enough essays that would ever make the point as clearly as just watching power do what it does and saying,
oh my God,
do you want to be on that side, or do you want to be on the side of the people who are trying to hold peace with each other, or the people who believe in freedom and the people who believe in da-da-da. And you might, right, and a lot of people do, disagree with the patterns or the tactics that folks are using in these engagements. Totally legitimate, right? You get to have whatever opinion you want about all of it. But the work that witches are up to, what I think is really interesting is being like, there is a place where we can bring our attention in this moment that will help move this along, whatever that may be. And so sometimes it's like, there's an herb that will help move this thing along. Sometimes it's like, there's a thing we need to understand about the stars that will help us in this moment.
Like sometimes a moment in time to take action.
This is when we should go, right? Yes. Like that's why it was like, it's interesting to me how many people's witchcraft practices in the astrological realm or in the tarot realm or other things, and being like, we're trying to understand larger patterns that are playing out and how we can move in those moments. But there's also then the being with what is part, right? That a lot of what it means to be a witch is to help people be like, this is true right now.
Yeah.
This is true right now. And what do you really want? And your biggest spell is always adjusting yourself to live how you really want to live towards the world you really want to be in. Ooh. That's the biggest spell, right? And all that I heard from everybody was like, oh, right. Like all I was doing was being like, I want to live in a world where I talk to trees regularly. That's what I do. I go out there, I talk to trees, I talk to whales, I talk to, I want to be in a world where we help young people understand their power in the world. I want to be in a world where we use our words with intention. I want to be in a world where we live in abundance, in an abundance orientation. All of that feels really thrilling to me. But my job is not like, I'm like, oh, I cannot change the mind of someone who's like, I'm committed to isolation, power, and domination and harm. I'm like, you're caught up in a different spell. I can't. And the thing, you didn't hear anyone throughout the entire season say, oh, and then I cast negative spells to try to hate that person. That is so not the energy. And I thought that was also, it's not like anybody was like, he needs to die, this person, but there's none of that energy, right? Everyone was like, we focus on what we can grow. We focus on what we can create boundary around and protect. And there's so much of witchcraft that is about protection of the soul, right? Even if we can't protect the body, and even if we can't protect this generation, even if we can't protect the moment, protect the soul, the greater soul of humanity that is moving from the beginning of time to the end of time, right? Whatever that looks like. So I feel like it broadened my perspective a lot.
On like what even the work is.
On what the work, it changed a lot of it.
And the relationship of like timeliness to it.
Yes, right? Because I'm like, oh, there are witches on the ground in Palestine and they are working, right? There are witches all over that region. Everywhere there's a genocide happening, there are witches who are trying to make it as possible for the people there to survive and to have as little suffering as possible. And that's still, their work is just as legit, even if they're under those conditions where what they can do is actually very small or it might not be visible at all. Right.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, I know that there are people who have softened the death of others there. I know that there are people who, right. So always looking for the miraculous and always trusting that there are people there who are doing that. And then we do, as humans, we move through we treat each other horribly. And what I think I'm learning is that like witches are one of the ways we answer that part of ourselves, is being like, okay, well, there's this other part that is really about care, is really about like the world is here and it has everything you need. The witches are like, the everything you need is right here, people.
Right. Totally.
Like, we're like, okay, if you sit me in a room and all I have is my body, I've got enough to make a spell. Yeah. If you sit me out in the woods and all I have is my naked body in the woods, I've got enough to make a home. I've got enough to make a food. I've got enough to make it, So that I was like, wow. Yeah.
What an orientation. Okay. I just have to say, I have to read something to you.
Okay.
In relationship to what you just named about these systems of dominance.
Oh yeah.
Because it's okay. It's from Andor. It's the manifesto that's written by that character Karis Nemec. And it just feels so completely in relationship to everything you just shared about witchcraft. So I just have to share it. I just have it always, and I read it. I reread it all the time.
A nerd on that level.
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. That's one of the lines. And then he goes on to say, there will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this.
Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause.
Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere. And even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And remember this. The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural.
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. And know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this.
Try.
That's it. Right?
That's it. And that to me is like, that's the timing piece of witchcraft, which is like, all of the effort of all of the spells and all of the craft and all of the deaths and all of the survival. It's all part of the bringing us toward the moment that cracks this open.
There's also really something in there about like the sacrifice aspect of it, right? That you give a little something, right? You give something, you make an offering, you make a sacrifice, you take a risk, right? Part of why this political moment to me is like so beautiful and witchy, because now it's like a lens you flip on and you're like, oh, what's the spell you're casting? And I look at everything like that I'm like, everyone's casting a spell, whether they're aware of it or not, but you're casting a spell for your life. This is why I kept Alexis and Shangodari for last, because I'm like, you're casting a spell to have a certain kind of love in your life. That's a part of it, right? And so I'm like, what is the spell I'm casting with my life? What is the spell we're casting? And for a moment like this, I'm like, if we want to stop this genocide and we are smaller in number, we don't have weapons, we don't have all this stuff, the thing that we have is the risk we're willing to take, the sacrifices we're willing to make. And that's why the direct action is so important. That's why an encampment where people are like, I'm willing to be uncomfortable here because this matters so much to me. That's a spell you're casting, right? And then not only are they encampments doing that, but there's like, we're making little worlds here. Every one of the encampments, what I keep hearing from people, what I keep seeing is we have a library, we have childcare, we have a Seder, we have a Passover,
we're running classes.
We're talking about liberation, we're playing, we're exchanging songs, we're teaching each other to dance. It's just like, everyone would love to go live in that world, but, right?
Right.
And so then it's like, it's being visionary in the face of oppression. That to me, and being like, I'm willing to make the sacrifice of maybe my safety, or maybe what I thought of as my career path, or what, because being a witch is also being like, look, I'm not going to fit into your job, but
I
am going to make things better. I am going to bring something into this world. And like 26 people we got to listen to have like made a way with magic being the primary thing that they do, that they offer to their communities. But there, to me, that piece of it is really lush and really exciting, which is like, you have to be willing to take a risk or make an offering, you know, like you build an altar. It's like, I found the perfect pine cone. I'm going to offer it back up to the divine energy so that I want to cast a spell of something that can grow. And pine cones know about this. Right. So, that's that way of, I'm like, even that way of looking at the world, like, what is the spell you're casting? And then who knows about this? And the knowing that non-humans have is actually so helpful for the knowing that humans need. Like, I've been thinking about the fact that humans kind of need to know all the stuff that the non-humans know. Like, we want to fly. Birds know how to fly, right? We want to swim. Fish know how to swim. We want to figure out how to live in tight community together. Let's look at ants. Let's look at bees. Let's look at like who does this, right?
We want to know how to transition between genders, and there's literal species that do that regularly.
Like, bloop, 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 right? And so I'm just like, oh, it's just different things that everybody knows. And we have the capacity to not only know what we've learned from our own lives, but to actually reach out beyond that and be like, I can learn what you know over there. I can learn what you know over there. So yeah.
Wow. Dope. Oh my God. It's so nice to be back.
Welcome.
God, I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too.
I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how fun this is.
I always make the anime face that Finn and remember when Finn and Mairead went the stage with up?
Yeah. Oh, I wish that our listeners could see the face that you just made.
Can you take a picture?
Some things get to stay. Some things. No.
Oh, it's so cute.
Because it's so cute. But you can do a selfie of it because you will take a good picture.
I'll take a good picture. You're right.
And then that can go out with the show. Okay.
But you have to do it too because it's always about the matching.
Right. Okay. I'll try. I'll do my best. You know me and selfies. We don't really.
It's the worst. But all right, continue.
We don't really talk anymore. Okay. So. This feels related to what you were just naming because I'm thinking about the thinking beyond piece, and I'm thinking about like what is beyond our immediate scope of awareness and understanding. I know you've heard me say this before. I say it a lot in relationship to like my fugitive practice work, that I really believe that spiritual practice and spiritual awareness is our intact experience of reality, actually. Yes. And so that beyond place is where the more real thing is. And so in that regard, I'm wondering about, this is so specific, but this was the question I had coming in. Did you make contact with anyone that as a part of this process that you weren't tuned into before? Like ancestors?
Oh, yeah.
More than human kin, like, like not just ancestors in our lineage, like living human ancestors, but also like tree ancestors.
Yes.
And like, I'm curious about like whether being in these conversations made like a new form of contact available.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it did was help me legitimize the form of contact I've been in since I was a kid, which is, since I was a kid, I have seen shapes and energies and like peripheral presences, and like I've had just visitations. I've always had that. And and when I was younger, I was just like this, I can't talk. I don't know what, I was like a dark figure just pulled behind the mailbox, or like I'm like, there's something there, but I can tell that no one else is seeing it. I don't know what to do about it. I'm just,
You're like the kid in The Sixth Sense.
Or like if you talk, I was like, I see something, guys. Remember The Sixth Sense hadn't come out. There was no context for me. I was just I'm just out here, and I'm in a military world. Everything's so tangible. Everything's so whatever, and I'm like, I don't know how to explain this. And in fact, it's also so with how spirit shows itself to me. It is something that's like, it's so clearly not tangible thing. Like I'm like, I have to make a choice to let myself see it, right? It's like I'm getting a glimpse, but I can choose to look away and try to stay like, no, that's not happening. Or I can be like, soften. So a very gorgeous experience that I had, which I've always had the feeling that our grandfather, Papa, and that our grandmother, Brown, are like rocking with me in this lifetime in a big way. Like I feel them present a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But during this time, I was heading into my first ayahuasca ceremony, and I was sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden I had a very like clear grandmother Brown was right to my right in the patterning of the textile that was near me. But it was like if I was looking this way, it was like her face was right here, and it was so big and beautiful and like, I mean, massive, right? And I closed my eye. Like usually what I would do is like look and be like, no, it's not there. See, there's nothing there. See? And instead I was like, I know she's there. I know she's there. And so I just softened my gaze. When I softened my gaze, she became clearer and clearer. And then when I closed my eyes, I could feel her hug me. Wow. And it was so great. Like, it was so like, oh my gosh, like I can reach back. right? I'm available for contact. I feel like I have been running from it. And even when I saw it, I'd be like, oh, cool. That's cool. But I'm not going to lean into it. And this felt like, I don't know if I want to lean into it with all the spirits, because there's a lot of, energy that comes my way. I also learned that there's just a lot of energy that's coming my way that's not ancestral. That's just like other people on earth that are alive sending energy at me, or wanting energy from me.
That part.
I feel like I was, I've done spiritual hygiene work in the past, but I don't think I had understood that piece of it in the same way. And then several of the people that I talked to over the course of the season, it was like reflecting back to me. Like, we see the toll that some of these energies are taking, and we want to offer some protection, or we want to offer some this, or we want to offer some that. So I feel very fortified, because in the process of this, a lot of witches were like, I'm going to offer you a little care. I'm going to offer you a little wisdom. I'm going to offer you a little something. There's such an exchange of love and in the folks that I was able to talk with, that really blew my mind. But that, I feel like I got in contact with the part of me that's like, oh, I actually do see dead people. I actually do see spirits, and in a really non-frightening way. Like, I really have a sense of living with spirit now all the time. And when things are happening, I think this is also helping with my sense of humor, right? That when stuff happens that normally would put me really outside my center and really make me feel like the world is causing me harm personally, I'm just like, I don't understand the trick that y'all are up to, but I know someone's enjoying this right now. So enjoy yourselves.
Right.
Someone's playing with me, and if I have a sense of humor about it, this is just a great story I'm about to tell. When the car was egged, I was like, I cannot believe someone just threw 4 eggs at my car. And I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to film these guys. I'm like, I have a whole thing. And now it's like, I've already shared it with multiple people, and I'm like, look,
look at this actual thing that actually happened.
Especially in the light of everything that's going on in the world right now, right? I'm just like, there's so much terror. There's so much wildness everywhere. To suddenly hear things hitting your vehicle is terrifying, right? You have to find a way to, I've got to move this somatically through my system, right?
Totally,
and actually the fastest way to do that is to laugh my way through it, right? And I'm understanding my humor is a spell,
Your humor is a spell. It's one of your most powerful forms of craft, I think. I mean, I feel so special because I feel like I get a version of your humor. I receive a version of the craft, the spellcraft that is your humor that no one else in the world even gets to see, because I'm your sibling. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh wow, like you've been casting the spell on me my whole life. Of making me laugh my whole life. It's like you've given me so much joy my whole life.
I'm so happy for that,
because you've made me spit shit out of my mouth my whole life because of how funny you are. It's incredible. So. And you will until the day I die, or you do. Okay, so
cry later. Anyway, so yeah,
welcome to the podcast,
and we're back.
And we're back. Okay. Last question. What delighted you and surprised you about all the witches?
I mean,
like, is there and I know that's a big question because there's so many of them, but like maybe was there like a particularly juicy moment that really delighted you in the?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, well, first of all, I want to say in many ways it was a delight fest. A lot of the people that I had on are people that are like, just some of my very favorite humans in the world who I have watched do magic, right? So there's just people where I'm like, I can't believe I get to talk to you in front of other people about the way you blow my mind. So I just want to say, like, the overarching delight was just being like getting on one call after another with someone who made my jaw drop, right?
Yeah.
Who taught me something, right? So I really love that, and being like, I can curate this if I move towards the witches. I can curate this as something that's regularly in my life, right? That I'm like, these people know shit. They're telling people, I'm like, I want to know that. Mm-hmm. I think that the conversation with Alexis and Shango Dare felt like, as it was happening, I was in my own body being like, oh, I get it. Like, I've been doing this practice. I've been writing letters. I've been writing letters to God. I've been doing these practices that are like, just finding new ways to listen to myself, listen to my heart, and get out of my way, because trauma has reshaped my belief system so much and belief of what's possible so much. Yes. And it was so beautiful to listen to them and be like, oh, like, love is a craft, and there's a way that you can practice it and be very good at it. Whether you're with someone or not with someone, there's a way to do this that is just like vibrating. It'll raise the vibration of your whole life. So I felt that in the conversation where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm learning much more about how to just love myself from being in the conversation with them. And then while the conversation was happening, I just felt this fluttering in my heart that was like, oh yeah, love is just the best part of humans.
It literally is.
Like, I know that's like duh, but it's like, no, but like, and I don't mean the like swoony lust moment. I mean like truly, when you're just like, I love you.
Right.
Like, and so much of the stuff falls away. Like, oh, how you look, how you act, if you piss me off or whatever. It's just like, I love you. Yes. Like, that's the center of the energy. There's a thing that Shango Dari talked about, which was like starting to see, like really allowing yourself to look through the eyes of love and be like, you made the honey sticky or whatever. And I was just like, that is how I want to orient towards
sweetie.
The world.
Yes.
Oh, sweetie, look at you. Mm-hmm. And it feels like being in right relationship with the holy energy, the miraculous aspects of our lives, is to engage in love over and over again in as many ways as possible with as many people as possible. So that felt like it just really delighted me, because I do feel like, Venus and Libra, love is my job, but it just felt like, oh yeah, it is my job, and it delights me, and it's something to get good at. I've been writing a book about love, and it delights me. I really am interested in writing about love as someone who's like, not like, oh, I've been married for 20 years or whatever, right? Like someone who's like, massive love is possible in other formations as well.
Yes.
Right.
Oh my God. Yes.
And
please,
I was like, I want to tell the world about like the kind of massive love that can happen for someone who by older standards would be seen as a single person.
Right.
Right. But I'm like, in my life, I don't feel single at all.
Right.
I feel very partnered and loved and cared for and known. And, I also want to say, I don't know if this I think it is a delightful thing, but I want to throw it in here, which is connection is a given. Like, it's actually our nature, and it's how everything is structured, is connection is a given. Mm-hmm. And I think listening to all these witches made me really honor solitude more. That it was like, so many of these people.
Damn, sis.
It made me really like, oh, wait, I think we come from a completely connected spiritual reality. I think we come into humanity, and part of the experience is to be like, what is it like to be in myself?
Right.
What is it like to be a self?
Because it's actually crowded.
It's really crowded. It's to be part of something that's all interconnected. It's just like so much. And so there's something about stepping away and being able to be like, I am a self, and I'm going to take some time to reflect on being a self. And I'm going to take some time to just breathe into like enjoying, like, what is my self nature called to do? And over again, as I listened to these witches, it was like they all went off in their own way into the woods, or they all went off with one, older mentor, with the tarot deck or whatever. But it's like there was a certain element of being like, I'm going to go down the other path, the quiet one. I'm going to go sit by myself in the corner. I'm going to, and that solitude is what allows you to plug deeply into who you actually are.
Wow.
Right. So I feel like in this chaotic world moment, that's the thing I keep wishing for everyone, is like, take the time to get right with yourself, to go sit with yourself and hear what you need to hear from inside your own heart and your own mind about what you're really here to do. and do it, because I really don't think you can cast the spell of your life if you don't get right with yourself. Right. And I think once you get right with yourself, you can't do anything else.
Right. And that like listening without judgment to what is in your heart.
What is really in there.
What's really true.
Even if, because, I love obligation. Like I have lived a whole life of being like, this is what the world needs. This is what will make other people feel great. And it's like, fine, I've made those offers, but the things I continuously hear back from people are the most helpful, are the things that I listened most deeply to myself and answered the need that was most deeply true for me in myself. Yes. And then in the answering and sharing of that, that's the thing that people are like, oh, that changed my life. Right. I'm like, right. Because it changed mine.
Right. Right.
And it changed mine because it has, that is a force of change that is actually moving through the world. So
hell yeah. You have a book coming out in the fall called Loving Corrections. And I would love if you could I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I would love to just hear you share a little bit, just a morsel, a taste of what is Loving Corrections? What do people have to look forward to that's coming next from Adrienne Maree Brown?
Thank you, sister. I'm really excited about this. It is coming out in the fall. I'm releasing it the same day as Alexis Pauline Gumbs releases the Audre Lorde biography that she's been working on. So that's big. Going to be a big Durham party. But Loving Corrections in a heart shell, nut beat. Anyway, in a nut beat. And the essence of Loving Corrections is something that I feel like I've been in deep practice of for years through my facilitation practice and in how I think, which is there are things that we need to help each other understand. Like once we get it, it's like, oh, this is actually not something that there's a billion right ways to think about. This is something that there is actually an important way to understand and think about regarding race, regarding gender, regarding disability, regarding how we are with each other, how we relate to each other. So I noticed that this was a practice that I was in and that there was a set of my essays that were really moving in that direction where I was like, I want to step out and say, here's the place to land with. Here's one place where we know we can land for sure on this. Mm-hmm. And here's the most loving way I can tell you about it. And to model both right? That I think we've developed this culture that is a culture of disconnected, isolated people giving each other feedback. Yes. And so it's very rough, harsh, yelling each other down, and it's correction with no love. And so it's correction that lands in such a harsh way that you're having to contend with the bruise rather than the
information.
Touch,
right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I'm like, this is not for everything, but I wanted to make a book. In my mind, the real reason for this book is that people can read it and then be like, my uncle needs to read this part. Mm-hmm. Or, right, the person in my life that I deeply love, who's really just way down the Zionism path, needs to read this loving correction about Zionism, needs to read this loving correction about this. And it also includes the columns from the Murmurations work that I did, because I knew I was like, I want to write more about accountability, and this will be a way to do it. So it's Ruminations and Murmurations are all part of the collection.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Plus we have the sister check-in conversation, which we're going to teach people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How do you check in with family in a meaningful way?
Yeah. We do a deep interview with our sister April in the book.
Yes.
Where we explain the process by which we saved our relationship as siblings. Incredible.
Exactly. And saves it to this day.
Shake these bones, shake these bones.
Thank you for listening to our show again. We're on X and Instagram at End of the
World. We're not
on X.
No, don't say that.
Okay. We're not on Twitter. We're not on anything. We are on Instagram at End of the World PC. And we're on Facebook at End of the World Show, so long as Meta shall live.
You can make a sustaining donation to our show by visiting the page at patreon.com/endoftheworldshow.
Another incredible thing you can do to help our show sustain itself is to write us a review on Apple Podcasts, so long as Apple shall live, if you are an iPhone person. Thank you.
How to Survive the End of the World is produced and edited by the incomparable Zach Rosen.
Music for today's show comes from Tunde Olaniran, Mother Cyborg, The Banksons, and Autumn.